All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Tuesdays with Peter. And I'm Peter, by the way. Delighted, absolutely delighted to have you join us today. We continue the series on positively brilliant self-mastery. And that's the whole purpose of this channel is, who am I? Why am I here? Why did God put me here? What am I here to contribute? What difference do I make in the world? And again, the world for some of you might be one child. For some of you, the world might be a community that you're involved in or a cause that you're involved in. Make the world a better place. And I do believe that a person's innate magnificence is in fact magnificent. It's life affirming. It is to do good. I don't believe that there is evil that is born into a human being. They may acquire that. They may attract that. They may be conditioned or beaten into that. But it's not innate. I just do not believe that. So you can believe that or not. That's up to you. Beliefs are the human side of things. And as we go into the positively brilliant text that I wrote back about 12 years ago now, I do distinguish between a human being's divine nature, that which is, again, innate, I believe, inside, was there at birth, was an endowment from your creator, however you call that, or however you name that, however you honor that. And the other part of being human is our human nature. And so the human nature is subjected to and subject to programming. Is subjected to the culture that I am born into. And a culture not just from an ethnic standpoint, but the culture of positivity, the culture of negativity, the culture of we have to be guarded. Whatever that programming was from early childhood, that there was no screens, there was no buffering, there was no discernment that took place at 1 year old, 5 years old, 10 years old, maybe starting at 18, 20, 30. For me, it was closer to 35 or 40. But I'm subjected to that from a human side. So part of what we're getting into in this second section of the book is what kind of beliefs have I acquired, or can I choose to change? And again, I didn't think that I thought beliefs were hardwired. That's just the way it is. That's just what was born into me. That was just the way I am. I still hear a lot of people at all ages say, yeah, but that's just who I am. No, that's who you have become. That is who you've been conditioned into. And you're still at choice. You're still at choice at 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, however long you live. You're still at choice in terms of choosing those beliefs, even though they've been lifelong beliefs, and you may be referring to them as core beliefs. You're still at choice in being able to change those. So we go into that more today. And let me get my PowerPoint up here. And I'm one ahead of myself here. Let me get back to this. Ta-da! Week 5, Positively Brilliant Self-Mastery. And principle 5 is, again, a belief, a life-affirming belief. And I think by choosing life-affirming beliefs, it is, in fact, life-affirming. It supports me. It adds to my vitality as a human being. It adds to my compassion as a fellow human being. So this belief is, you believe that when you bring your innate gifts to your innate life purpose, as you honor your innate values, you are living your positively brilliant self. Okay. So the belief of bringing your beliefs to your core divine nature, values, gifts, purpose, that you are living congruently and in alignment with your positively brilliant self. Now, you can call this what I've now become calling the positively brilliant self, core self, or most authentic self. You can use any of those terminologies, or your original self, which is one gentleman that we went through an exercise to discover those things. He came out at the back end of it and said, wow, I have articulated my original self, my original awesome, beautiful, amazing, fantastic self. This man was like in his 60s. I think he'd already gone through retirement, right? Reconnecting with itself. So I invited Phyllis today. I don't know if she's showing up yet, but we'll get to her in a minute. Hopefully she'll be here to read her story. It's a beautiful story. I've known Phyllis now for, I don't know, 15 years maybe, and is an amazing human being. So hopefully she will be here to share that with her. Quotes, you know, I love quotes, and I found this one by a Ralph Ellison. Don't know who he is, but I love this quote. When I discover who I am, I'll be free. I love that. And the way that I interpret that, and the way that I experience that, is when I discover who I am, and I am being who I am, then I am free of the good opinion of others. I am free to be myself. I am free to not be, not do, not have to prescribe to somebody else's way of living. Not my parents, not my societies, not my gender, not my culture. Now, there are many things in all of those things that are really great. Hip, hip, hooray. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, culture. But I'm free to choose. I'm free to choose when I discover who I am. So discover who you are. The bottom line there, discover who you are. Section 2, again, the beliefs have been a guiding belief for the work that I have consciously been engaged in for the past 2 decades now, for the past 3 or 3.5 decades. It's been important to me to bring my human nature and my divine nature together in a way that is a simple, understandable, and practical. This belief has proved to be a guiding foundation for living my own life and supporting more than 1,000 helping professionals who have in turn helped tens of thousands of other people to move towards their positively brilliant self-mastery. So most of you know that I'm a coach trainer, I'm a coach mentor, I'm a coach supervisor, I'm a coach assessor. I've been in the world of professional coaching for 26 years now. And so it's the ground of coaching is supporting an individual to make a higher level awareness, bring their higher level awareness to make higher level conscious decisions. And this does that. This does that. You can't be yourself until you know who you are. Does that make sense? You can't be yourself until you know who you are. So in the meantime, you're acting to be somebody else, to meet somebody else's needs or requirements or phobias or fears or best wishes, right? They're not all negative. But ultimately, I need to know who I am. And it just froze. So let me unfreeze myself here if I can. There we go. All right, so moving on. By believing this belief, I have had the experience of transcending the limitations of past programming, mass consciousness, and current circumstances. My divine nature, again, my values, purpose, and gifts that are innate, not learned, but innate. They've always been there, always will be. There now. can now guide my plans, strategies, decisions, actions back to my most authentic self. So this is, for me, it's incredibly practical. It is absolutely incredibly practical, and it can be applied to the things that are going on right now in my life today, in terms of what plans do I have, what strategies or decisions are in front of me, what actions do I want to take to execute on those plans. When they're tied back to my innate self, things work out really well. When they don't, then I say, yeah, thank you. I'll do this on my own. Thank you very much. It's less coherent. All right. Foundational belief is simple to understand. But this foundational belief: your divine source endows your divine nature with a unique combination of the values, purpose, and gifts that comes from the divine. Again, however you define that. And B, the human nature's job is to know those things, live those things, and celebrate those things and each of those endowments from the divine nature. That's the human vehicle, right? That's a human operating system. So if I can incorporate those divine things and then enact them, bring them to life, this 3D planetary life, then things work out really well. And it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of compassion. It comes from a place of life affirmingness. The foundational belief is practical for everyday decisions. We talked about that. Once you have discovered and articulated these values, purpose, and gifts, which you can go back to CoreSELFtech.com, by the way, CoreSELFtech.com, if this is the first time that you're listening in on this Tuesdays with Peter. CoreSELFtech.com is a website that you can download all these things for free. I made them available to the world. It's my way of paying it forward, to actually get a snapshot. Take you 10-15 minutes to go through this little exercise, and I've been doing this now for 26 years in one form or a fashion or another, and it is spectacularly accurate. You will now have the ability to align your day-to-day personal and professional life with your most authentic and positively brilliant self. And if you don't do that, then you're still operating from an old operating system, and mostly unknowing. It's unconscious. It's just that, yeah, that's the way I've always been. That's just the way it is. That's what mom and dad taught me when I was 7 years old, and it's still holding true today. And I try to live by that principle. Okay, that's good. Most of them are good, by the way, again, but not all of them. And so my behest, my pleading is find out who your original self was. And I would add to that, and still is. It's still down there. It's still inside of you, because somebody, if the creator gave that to you, then a human being can't take it away. They can guide you to not honor it. They can give you a substitute. You can adopt or adapt in your environment to staying safe. And I get that. I did that for 37 years. But I wasn't living my authentic life for the first 37 years either. All right. So the beautiful story contributor for this particular chapter, chapter 5, she wrote this back in, I want to say 2008. We published in 2009. Can I Be Myself Already? By Phyllis Francis. And I think I saw her coming into the chat, or not the chat room, but the Zoom room here. Phyllis, give me an audio. Yep, I'm here. Woohoo!
Yes, can you hear me?
Yay! Yes, I can, loud and clear. Welcome, 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 welcome. So I'm going to have you go ahead and read this story, Phyllis, and then we'll have some Q&A and chat, and open it up to the participants in terms of their experiences of, what you're beautiful story triggers for them, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so let me just bring this up. And as you read it, I will just continue to scroll through it.
Excellent. Okay, principle 5, in her words, a life-affirming belief. Wait, hold on, I'm reading my copy, but
Go ahead. Yeah, you can read it off the screen or you can read it off the book, either way.
oh, I'll do that. I remember my father, okay, hang on, it just blinked out. Okay. I remember my father telling me, you have to be the best at everything you do to succeed in this world because you have 2 strikes against you. You're Black and you're a woman. I bought into this belief that my core value was to represent my race and my gender and to make my family proud. While I was growing up, this belief was perpetuated by living in upper-class neighborhoods and attending private Catholic schools that lacked diversity. I remember being told, you're special because you're not like the other Black people. And this was intended to be a compliment. I spent most of my life trying to fit into a mold that I believed my environment expected, growing up with this underlying belief that made it difficult for me to recognize my natural gifts and talents. I could not distinguish my personal values and authentic self-expression from others' expectations. I tried to fit in socially and professionally by being perfect so that people would see beyond my 2 strikes and get my worth. After receiving 2 degrees, acquiring multiple certifications, earning promotions and awards, it was no surprise that I was left feeling exhausted and unsatisfied. I recognized that my insatiable appetite to achieve was fueled by underlying feelings of unworthiness. When I was supported to focus on the positive and encouraged to allow my authentic self to emerge, I felt my self-perception shift from judgment to acknowledgement. I changed my focus from what is wrong and needs to be fixed to what is working, what is a lesson, and self-acceptance. I discovered my core values and learned to align them with my daily actions. I discovered my life's purpose statement. I am whole, perfect, and complete in this moment. All that I need is within me as I shine my transforming light into the world. Now, I effortlessly express my authentic self in everything I do. I am a beautiful Black woman who has values simply because I breathe. I'm attracting diverse professional projects that I use my natural gifts and talents, and experiencing more joy and fulfillment than ever.
Woo! Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. So let me come back into my, get rid of that, move that out of the way. Phyllis, as you read that this morning, what's going on for you? What's going on inside of you?
You know, it's interesting reading that because I haven't read it in a long time. And it's like thinking about all the things that are happening socially, culturally, racially in the last couple of years. It's really so true. Like I still really, when I read it, it's like it's still so powerful for how far I've come. And how I, even during that period, when all of the social injustices were being highlighted, like I really still got like who I am is my gifts, my talents, just who I choose to be, and not trying to represent or feeling like I have to be a certain way so that I'm accepted.
Wow.
And having a daughter who's 10, really providing a space for her to just be herself, just to be appreciated. She's at a private Catholic school. It's a lot more diverse now than it was for myself, but it's really powerful to be able to share this with her and to give her the freedom to be whoever she is and not feel pressure from the expectations about what is beauty, how she's supposed to be, because I started to notice with her growing up, she was starting to feel like, oh, I should have blonde hair, or I should be a certain way, and really trying to provide her the space that, you are beautiful however you are, however you choose to be, and that there's just no expectations. And how that was really put onto her from just society, from movies, and we were living in Hawaii, which is a very diverse place,
Mhm.
and she was still starting to feel that pressure. And
Wow.
so I really made a conscious effort to just always let her know that you're beautiful, you're smart, just as you are, and don't let anybody tell you different. And so it's been interesting having to come to that place for myself, and then trying to provide that space for my daughter.
Yay, mom. Yay,
Yeah.
Phyllis. Yay, fellow human being. Wow. There's what strikes me in your story and in your retelling it and looking through the eyes of your daughter now, that if you don't fit the mold of the society that I get born into, I have to fight for my own identity. I have to, it seems like it's more of a battle than it ought to be, to be myself, to claim my authenticity. And that brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
How do we change that?
Wow. I mean, just as you are presencing me to the moment, it makes me emotional too, because even in a different state, in a consciousness of the space that I came into, even knowing that that was an issue that I didn't want to pass on to my child, or that perception that she wasn't good enough, like she still kind of got it. So it's like through the cartoons that we watch, through just how society just praises a certain way that you should be. I mean, and women go through this with their image, their body image, and it's hard. I mean, one thing that I have done that's different is my daughter really appreciates her culture. Like, I've really made it a point to celebrate, like, we are Creole. So I'm mixed race. And so we always have a big celebration on Fat Tuesday. I invite other friends that are Creole and friends of hers, because we have some other Creole children in her school. And I try to make celebrations of stuff that are culture, and get her excited, and just to really embrace just so the different beauties, of being a Black woman. I had her watch Becoming. Like, I have her watch things that have come out on the media, just so that she can appreciate. And I still never know how it's going to land, So of course it's bigger than me, but I also know that what I do, or bringing up the issue, like, it wasn't really discussed for me growing up. And there was so much more racism, and so much more institutionalized racism, certain things that were happening when I was growing up, that it was just a part of society. Even the racism I received, like, oh, you're different, you're special. I mean, that was like polite racism. I didn't know it, and I thought, oh wow, that's a compliment, but really it was kind of backhanded. And so now I've made her aware, like, this is what's happening, and you can choose to be enrolled in it or not. Because I also teach her that joy, happiness is a choice, and how you hold things. And so I'm really trying to teach her the spiritual principles, that you can be who you are, which supersedes everything.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Your disposition. And I'm hoping that's enough. I mean, the story's still unwritten, right? It's still unfolding. And so we'll see how this goes.
Well, it's so individual, and it's Yeah, the word that keeps coming to me in the morning is it's a battle. It's an individual battle of self-identity, and the surrounding circle, I suppose, around that is self-preservation, right? It's like,
Mhm.
be this to get along, be this to be accepted, be this to be hired, be this to be, seen as a, a good neighbor, a good citizen, good
Mhm.
woman, good man, good whatever. And I'm a white Caucasian male in America. Okay, so it's like I didn't have to deal, or I was oblivious to almost everything you just went through in terms of my upbringing. My upbringing was one of middle class, but two parents that were highly educated. And my biggest issue was around in the world of learning. I didn't pick things up fast in school. And so, and I was with a very smart Yale graduate dad and a younger brother that was building literally computers from, they call them Heathkits, I think, in those days. And he'd, get this elaborate electronics thing, all the components and the diodes and the whatever they were in there. And he put it all together, and he's like 13 years old, right? And I'm 15 years old. And I'm seeing and living in that soup. But in terms of being accepted, in terms of my gender, in terms of my culture, in terms of my color, I didn't have to battle with that. What I battled with at 37 was deeper down in terms of who I am as a divine soul.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're bringing in today a narrative and an experience of, yeah. And besides that, I mean, trying to get to that piece of it, which is buried deep down inside of a Black body, a female body, in a society where that you were special because you have adapted more to the white way of doing life is
Right.
the way I'm hearing it, which, like you say, is a backwards compliment, and a negative, still very racial in nature, even to get to the place of, yeah, who am I inside of that physical being?
Yeah.
Damn, you done good, girl.
Oh,
You done really good.
thank you.
And I believe that we choose our parents. So your daughter chose wisely.
Thank you. It's interesting, Peter, when all of the COVID, when it first started, and a lot of the racial divide started to occur it started with Trayvon Martin, and then it was, I forget all the names, but all these things, Breonna Taylor, like all these things were coming to light. I remember my daughter came to me and she's like, why don't they like me?
Yeah.
And it broke my heart a little bit, because it's like, oh, wow, I thought we've come so far.
Mm.
And her experience is a little different. And it was just all this hate and all this stuff that was happening. Our president at the time, it was like, there was just so much energy. And she's like, I don't understand what I've done. And so I really sat her down, and I had to have that conversation that it's not you, honey. It's not, it's nothing. Just people are scared, and really try to reframe it in a way where I didn't want her to carry this burden like I did in my life, or feel like I have to be a certain way, or something's wrong, or I have to do above, all of that stuff that I've taken on. And to really let her know that you're beautiful, you're perfect, just simply because you are. Some people may be scared of you or intimidated because of how you show up, but just never forget who you are. And that was a hard conversation, especially, she was only 8.
Wow.
At the time. And it's like, wow, what do you, like, how do I let her know, like, she's okay and she's safe? And luckily she's in an environment, a community that she's had nothing but wonderful experiences, but she had no idea that this is what was happening and that she would be judged simply because of her skin color.
Yeah.
And, every Black person or, mother or father has to have this conversation, especially with a Black son. Like, I'm so glad she's a girl, because I would be afraid for her life, especially as she gets into her teenage years. But it's definitely something, like, when I think about, there's so much that I had to move through and unpeel before I could get to my true authentic self. And I credit a lot of that to you, to Marcia, to Coach for Life, and for the spiritual journey that I was on, that really gave me that opportunity to stop and what's important to you. What do you value? How do you want to express your values through the life you live it? And really to get through all that stuff to get to, okay, what's important for me? And is this truly my heart's desire? Or is this pressure I'm feeling that I have to represent my race or show up in a certain way so that, as a race, we can look good?
Yeah. Yeah. And taking on the burden of, I represent all Black people.
Yeah.
Like, whew.
Yeah.
Well, you bring up the spirituality, and you had done a lot of work before we ever met, and in the world of spirituality and connecting with something, a deeper creator. And I don't remember your specific beliefs, but I do remember you were vibrating at that vibration before you ever came to Coach for Life. Talk to me a little bit about how that supported or didn't support, getting past all the prejudices, all the, I have to be a certain way, I have to be perfect, even from, parental guidance that you grew up with, or not. Did it get in the way?
All of that was very instrumental. I do share a little bit about my history in the story. I grew up in Brentwood, California, was at the time a very Caucasian neighborhood. I lived amongst stars, and I went to a very private school. Mm-hmm. And so I was probably one of maybe 3 Black families in the entire school. And there was a lot of pressure there to be a certain way, because, we're talking about the 70s in Brentwood, California. And then my parents both are African-American, but my mom is very light and looks Caucasian, and my father was a little bit darker. So they always had to deal with the issues of people thinking that they were an interracial couple. And so they received a lot of pressure in that way. Like, what's my mom doing with this Black man? And one of the things that I credit my parents, especially my father, is even though we were brought up Catholic and I went to private Catholic schools, he was always dabbling into spirituality, and he would put radio shows on, like with Dr. Richelieu and Dr. Hornaday. This is with Science of Mind. Oh, yeah. And so he would blast the radio at 6 o'clock in the morning when we would all be getting ready for school. And it was all about, I choose to be happy today, like create your day. Like that was the conversation before The Secret. These shows would have on about how you can create your reality. And so we would have that in the backdrop, getting ready for as little as I can remember. Wow. And it really impacted me. And even with my father having experienced blatant racism, because of course, through the civil rights and all of that, he was, right in there. He was always telling us, like, there's a way you can walk into a room and empower yourself and be a certain way where people will see past your color, will see past their prejudices and their judgments. And even though he told us, you have 2 strikes, like he was trying to give us the reality, he was also providing us a solution. And so we did a lot of work, and, we would even be Catholic during the Catholic things. There were certain things that Catholics will say during the church where he would say, don't say that you are worthy, change these words, because I don't want you to believe that. So he was very progressive. Yeah. And new thought, even though he had his struggles, and it was kind of, seeing him as a man, trying to protect his family and himself, and many times, being judged because we were very well off. The assumption was that he was doing something illegal or wasn't where he was supposed to be. Being in Brentwood, there was a lot of that, but he had a way with his energy. And so I learned a lot from him that, okay, it's about connecting. It's about being at a higher vibration. It's not about playing into a situation if somebody is blatantly being racist, to not match that energy, to hold at a higher level to where that falls away. And I can't tell you how many situations I saw my father into where people were blatantly racist. And it's like that fell away and people just loved my father. Like, come sit down, drink with us. You're definitely special. Like, there was so many situations where it could have gone in so many different directions where we were embraced. And that was fascinating to watch. Like, how did he do that? Where people were clearly a certain way when they saw him and judging him, to where they just loved him and were hugging him. And so that's when I realized there's something more here. There's a way that I can be and hold myself that can help people see, like, hold it a way where people can see past my flaws. Like, that's how I saw it originally.
Wow.
So I knew there was something in there, but I had to really step into it and learn that, this is my journey. This is my experience and my growth as a person.
Well, the thing that's coming out for me is that inner part of Dad vibrated at such a high frequency that's what overcame all those prejudices that were coming in from the outside, from the people around him, and saying, initially, okay, he's a Black man, we need to be in fear, or we need to discount, or we need to dismiss, or we need to whatever their issues were. And it doesn't sound like he ignored it as much as he made a different choice. Rather than playing into their song, their lyrics, he came from a place of deep inner knowingness, what I would call the core self, or the positively brilliant self, and that's what he radiated out. And then, of course, people could relate to that, and did, obviously.
Yeah.
What a gift.
It was definitely a gift. And, each of my sisters, we've all taken on a piece of that. And I've had many experiences when I will say to people, as a Black woman, I feel, whatever the conversation is. And many people will be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize you're Black. Like, it's interesting how many experiences I've had as that, where people didn't even see that until I brought it forward, just because I wasn't bringing in that hesitation or that insecurity or that fear coming into a room of, let's say, all Caucasian men, worried that, when I didn't bring that energy in, it's like it didn't interfere. But that was something I had to learn.
Yeah.
And actually, come to peace within myself, because then I didn't bring it in the room being fearful.
God bless you, girl. God bless you. I've always loved you, and I love you sharing the experience and being so raw and being so real. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I want to open it up to people that are here. Any questions or comments or relatedness, not necessarily because you're Black, or not necessarily because you're a woman, or not necessarily because you're whatever, but just the human experience of having a courage, the courageousness to be oneself. Anyone want to kind of chime in and share about that, or ask Phyllis a different question? It's also okay.
Hi, Phyllis. This is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Phyllis. Thank you for your inspiring story. I feel like you're quite a light in the world, and certainly in my day today, I just felt it very deeply. I could feel your energy coming through beyond the words. Really beautiful. Was something that came to mind. That's something you said. You were talking about the different beauties. And I think this is what we have an opportunity to all embrace, because we're all different in one way or another. I'm a gay man, so I have some insight into being different and being ostracized in some circles. Not your story, but I'm looking for ways to be my most beautiful self. You're an exemplar for this. You're doing this in your own life. You're doing this with your daughter, and really in this vehicle for the world at large. So I want to thank you for stepping in, having that courage, being that light, being that beautiful, beautiful example of living your life and living your life brilliant like a light. So thank you.
Well said. Thank you. We have a saying at Coach for Life: if you spot it, you got it. That's a great example of it right here. The Mobius of one incredibly awesome soul touching the heart and soul of another amazing soul. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Hi, Phyllis.
That's Kate.
This is Kate. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm really touched also by just hearing your journey and experiencing your light, and hearing how you have uncovered and held on to yourself, through so many different situations that it really touches my heart. And I grew up in Texas, and the racism that I witnessed has always really just made me very passionate about equality for all of us. And it's so powerful to apply these principles of connecting with our divine worth to your particular journey, and to the journey of the Black community. I have always been so moved by how so many stories of Black women and Black men who have risen above and lived in that higher vibration in the midst of being in a society like ours that has such systemic racism. It just really blows my mind, and it inspires me continually to hear stories like yours. So thank you for being who you are in this world that's in this culture that can be really, really challenging.
Amen.
Thank you, Kay.
Amen.
It's interesting listening to Kay and Mark, and it reminds me of like the interesting line that I find that I have to ride as a woman of color in spirituality, and remembering that I can create my reality. And at the same time, when you see certain things happen or certain things happening, being able to hold that line and to hold that high vibration, and to make sure, okay, did I cause that, or did I see something that wasn't there? Or is this really happening? And being able to hold that vibration regardless, that definitely is a practice that's cultivated to, like when I think of my father, when I shared those instances of him, to be able to go into a room and turn the energy around, even regardless. And that definitely is a skill. And it's a practice of spirituality, not just as an African-American, but for everyone, really. When something bad happens or something that you perceive to be negative, to be able to hold the energy and say, okay, I'm going to create my reality, and I'm going to make this happy, or faking it till you make it, finding that within yourself of like, how do I overcome this and hold the vibration and not be enrolled into what's happening and to really turn it around. It definitely is a gift that is so powerful that I feel like this work really has helped me with.
Mm. Wow.
I think there's something really rich in what you just shared as far as it's an ongoing practice. It's not, okay, yep, I'm healed, I'm good. I'm okay with all kinds of things that are happening around me, and they just don't know, right? They're just ignorant, they're just biased, they're just prejudiced, they're just, they have their own issues. And now I'm done with it. Right now I can get on with my life. It's like it sounds like every day there is a practice, a reminding, a habitual reconnecting to that core, reconnecting to this is who I really am. This is who I am, regardless of what they say or regardless of what's happening around me. And I just have to remember that, and I can't be, or as humanly possible, as least reactive to the crap, the non-truths, the minimalization that takes place around me. So what gives you the strength to do that, Phyllis?
I think the strength comes from my spiritual practices. I find that, I've been living into a statement for the past year, and it is, I'm living my magical, miraculous dream life now. And that's like my affirmation. And I hold that every day. And in that moment, I feel so much joy because my dream life is now. It's magical, it's miraculous. And I hold that is the life that's showing up for me. And so the whole what you focus on expands. Like when I'm in that energy, I'm experiencing nothing but magic, nothing but beauty, nothing but joy. And regardless of what's happening around me. And it's not from an ignorance is bliss, because things can still happen. However, I'm in so much joy that it doesn't impact me. I don't let it take me down. And when I'm in that vibration, I know that it's contagious. The people that I'm coming into contact with feel it, and they become happy. And I don't know whatever pretenses or judgments or biases they may have. It's like, I just don't experience in that moment. My joy, when I'm really in it, can be so palpable. And I experience with other people that I find that I've been able to change the room. And I'm not even focusing enough to know what the room is like. I'm just in my joy. I know with my dad, he had to be very strategic and, okay, this is an unsafe territory. How can I fix this? I've learned to just show up joyful, and it can impact the people around me. And that has really made a difference. And I'm teaching my daughter to, you create joy in your life. You create your day. Because she's coming home, and then, Susie said this to Evan, and Evan told, she's dealing with that kind of stuff. And it's like, you get to choose how this is going to impact you. You get to choose if this one incident, because my daughter will have one incident and be like, this day was terrible, And so it's like, well, what happened? Well, Susie told me to shut up, and it's like, but the day was amazing. And so trying to teach her that one moment does not determine or define your day. Like, you have the power to do that. And it's you have to be very vigilant. I find that I have to be very vigilant in that energy. And that once I come out fully charged in that energy, it really takes me through anything.
So beautiful. And again, so smart, so realistic, so healthy, so everything that I'm choosing to live the life that I'm here to live. I'm here to be who I am designed and created to be. regardless of the room, regardless of the environment, regardless of this, that, and the other. And again, I'm not blind to what's going on out there by any means, and that pains me. It even pains me as a non-minority.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I'm responsible for who I am.
Yeah.
And if I can be true to who I am, regardless of what other people think of me or what's going on or being said about me or my kind, right? Because there's a lot of prejudice around old white guys too. We're not exempt completely from this, that I may be lumped into. Yeah, you're just one of those prejudiced guys that are old and, baby boomer, and, you created all the problems in the world, that I'm having to suffer through now. So I'm not totally exempt. I'm mostly exempt, but not totally exempt.
Right.
But bottom line is, am I being true to myself? And I love the way that the staunch consciousness that you have in terms of it doesn't matter what other people are thinking about me as I walk in the room. It's who am I being as I walk into the room? Let me emanate that. Let me be true to that. And that, again, you touched on it. That excites me about me being me. I love being me. And I am thankful that I'm me. I'm thankful that I know who I am and that I can be me, and that when I'm true to that, it brings great deep sense of fulfillment, satisfaction, joyousness from deep inside of me. And that's what I emanate. That's, it's kind of like whatever I fill myself up with, that's what I have to contribute.
Yeah.
So if I'm filled up with hate and discontent, then that's the only thing I've got to send out to the rest of the world. And if I'm filled with joy and passion and loving, and then that's what I have to contribute to the world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. It's like, yeah, that's a daily choice. That's a moment by moment choice. It's like, okay, good. I hit 60 years old. Thank God, I can retire now, and I don't have to do any more self-development. I've made it. I've landed. No, the work continues. Yeah. Whew. What a journey today. What a journey. Charles, I see that you are still with us. Any comments or words of wisdom from my fellow philosopher of life?
Well, you can imagine that I might have a few. Phyllis, thank you for sharing. It's a mixed roller coaster for me, and my deep love and appreciation for science of mind, unity, spiritual principles, and parenting. It's your father that I honor, and my mother, who gave me the power of positive thinking when I was 16, praying something would get through to her wayward son, right? The roller coaster ride is my daughter went in for surgery this morning. She's in her 40s. Her mother and I divorced when our children were young, and I did not have the opportunity to be the influence upon them that your father was upon you and that you are for your daughter. So she does not know about basic science of mind, spiritual principles. So I'm trying to find ways to work Star Wars into my message this morning as she's checking into there is a force, So I'm celebrating life and New Thought and Peter J. Redding and the internet, and how we can have a new discovery at any point in time, like you and your daughter are experiencing so beautifully. It's like I had to reorient a whole series of programs when Peter introduced me to CoreSELFtech. I mean, it's like I don't want to engage with anyone in a program until I know they know who they are and why they're here. And the same thing happened when I read How to Attract Success. And the book is really about the law of allowance, the law of harmonious attraction. And to me, that's what you and your father are both doing. When you walk into that room with joy, the only thing that can be attracted to you is joy. So, hallelujah. Thanks, Peter. Thank you for sharing.
Hallelujah is a great way to cap it off. Well, Phyllis, I'm going to give you the last word here. We're running into the end of our program this morning. Any advice you'd give to anybody, whether they're Black, woman, or otherwise, on how to be yourself, how to celebrate yourself?
You know, the one thing that I always tell myself and my daughter and my husband too, my whole family, is that the issue is not the issue. It's how you relate to it.
Mm.
And so that's been a piece of wisdom that comes with choosing who I'm going to be, how I'm showing up, my vibration, and in my experience, that impacts my experience too, to where when I'm in my joy, I'm having the time of my life and being able to really be there authentically. I think all this work, these principles, all of this has really taught me to trust in my experience, trust in who I'm being, and just making that choice every moment, like basically consciously creating my day, consciously creating my life, as opposed to just bumbling around and reacting to whatever the universe throws at me. And that's the one thing I choose every day is, my experiences. I'm choosing a beautiful day. I'm choosing this experience and setting bedtime intentions, all of those ways to consciously create each day. And the moment that it starts to go awry, I have to remind myself, oh, wait a minute, what am I choosing here?
Mm.
And trusting, okay, I want it to go this way, but the universe sent me this way. Trusting that the universe is working for me. It's here to support me, not to hurt me. I mean, if the universe was out to get me, I love that. Teresa would say this a lot. It would have gotten me by now. That's in my dually.
Yeah, right.
It would have gotten me. And so it's reminding myself that this is what it is. And that has been helpful.
Wow. I'm gonna leave it on that note because I think that's just stunning. Thank you, Phyllis, for your contribution to the book. Thank you for your contribution to world of professional coaching. Thank you for the contribution to being a fellow human being that is just amazing and shining our light wherever you go. So God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Phyllis and Peter. This is wonderful. So inspiring.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody that's listening to this live on YouTube right now or later. And come back next week. We're going to go into principle number 6. And there'll be more magnificence that's shared and hopefully that you'll be inspired by. So in the meantime, I wish you God bless. Namaste. Stay safe. Thanks, everybody.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Phyllis.
Have a wonderful day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.